of women in Auckland and to read out the speeches of the women who were unable to speak there and also in Wellington where the event didn't go ahead. Okay, say hello everybody. Hey. Point out there's no masks and don't use them. Okay, so who's going to go first? We're going to speak in this area here.
Oh, are we going to block the pavement?
Okay. Okay, would you like to start?
This is a poem that I'm reading on behalf of an anonymous Englishwoman currently living in Auckland. Shh, they said, when they subjected us to sexual violence. Shh, they said, when they denied us the right to our inheritance. Shh, they said, when we demanded our names on our property. Shh, they said, when we demanded spaces for our safety and dignity. Shh, they said, when we demanded the right to vote. Shh, they said, with their hands wrapped around our throat. Shh, they're saying, as they creep into our safe spaces. Shh, they're saying, can't you see that we have the same faces? No, we say, we are different in every way and more. No, we say, we will not give up what we fought for. No, we say, you will not mutilate and sterilize our children. No, we say, men don't belong with women in prison. No, we say, you will not compete in our sports. No, we say, you will not police our thoughts. No, we say, you will not take our language and twist it. No, we say, we are not bigots for saying all of this. Do your worst as more and more of us speak. We won't be silenced. Let women speak.
Yay! That was brilliant. Who's next? Could you want to go on the steps so that people walking past can see?
Okay.
We got you there.
Which better with a hat on or hat off? Okay. So, Stella's testimony from Auckland Let Women Speak. I was at the Let Women Speak Auckland rally on March the 25th, 2003, where the massed protesters crashed through the barricades and surrounded Kellie J. Keane, who had been assaulted as soon as she set foot upon the stage. The stage had been set up in the hexagonal wooden rotunda at the Albert Park location. It has a hip-high wooden sides which are surrounded by jumbled rocks on the outside and, as I found out, it is not an easy space to exit when the open side at the front is blocked. I arrived at the park with my older friend Jay, and we'd agreed to stick together, especially if things turned violent. We were worried about angry protesters, given that New Zealand mainstream media had spent days smearing Kellie J. Keane as a white supremacist Nazi, since a group of masked men, all dressed in black, had gate-crashed her rally in Melbourne. At that rally, these men were allowed through, unhindered by the police, to the top of the steps of the Melbourne Parliament, where they performed a mass Nazi salute. The Australian Jewish Association on their Facebook page supported the free speech rights of the women attending and stated that, in their opinion, that the Nazi group had nothing to do with the women's rally or Kellie J. Keane, and some bemusement at the Melbourne police letting these men through. When me and Jay arrived at the Auckland rally, we were wearing our purple, white and green suffragette ribbons that Jay and a group of concerned parents of gender-confused kids had lovingly made. I often wonder what these Kiwi suffragettes, who worked tirelessly for years to get New Zealand women the right to vote, would think about recent sex self-ID laws that allow men into women's spaces and sports. I think they would be horrified. As well as the right to vote, Kiwi women campaigned for things like single-sex public toilets, so women could participate more safely in public life. When our little group arrived, we were let in by security guards to join the other rally goers in an area sectioned off by rope around the rotunda. I was pleased to see some men in our little group of about 80 to 100 people. The protesters were further back behind a barrier made of those metal fence sections that are clipped together. There were at least 1,000 protesters there. They had sirens, loudspeakers, and were banging pots and pans as they chanted. The noise was intense. Many abusive signs were on display alongside the flags and banners. One read, "Suck my dick." Another said, "Get off our land, cunt." I moved around the rally goers, handing out copies of the song we had planned to sing, a song that 4 Women Scotland had written and sung at a Kelly J. Keane Let Women Speak rally in Glasgow recently, a song about women's rights to the tune of Auld Lang Syne. My hands were shaking as I handed out the song sheets, and I can't remember much of what was said as I tried to stay calm but alert. I tried to take some photos, but they consisted of shots of my feet and the sky, etc., as my hands were too shaky. I did get one panning short video of the protesters behind the barricades. I was at the back of the rally crowd at this point. The 12 or so police officers present were at a distance in 2s and 3s at the sides of the area under the trees. As soon as Kelly J stepped onto the stage, a person in a pink dress who had infiltrated our little group rushed up to her and threw a liquid that turned out to be soup on her. Then bang, the barriers were down and the protesters surged past me towards the little rotunda. I lost track of my friend Jay. It was impossible to see the stage, and I was worried for the safety of Kelly J and the 6 or so women marshals. I moved around the crowd looking for my friend and stopped when I saw a white-haired woman in her 70s that had a swollen face and a massive black eye. I stood side by side with her with my arm around her shoulder, facing the protesters as they surged past us, and I tried to get her to come with me. She wouldn't move. She was comforting a protester, a bearded, middle-aged man who was shaking and yelling that we wanted to hurt his child, while tears poured down his face. Yelling people were rushing past us. The noise was beyond intense. The injured woman leaned forward. She was gently cupping the face of a distraught dad with one hand and talking directly into his ear, so she could be heard over the ear-splitting noise. I could see him visibly calming down. I'm not sure if either of them realised I was there. It was surreal. I asked some nearby guys to keep an eye on her and moved on to try to find my friend. I couldn't find her. I circled around the back of a wooden rotunda. I wanted to see if the marshals were okay and that Kelly J. Keane had gotten out. Someone, I don't know who, helped me to navigate over the rocky edge and boosted me up over the side, and I climbed down and onto the wooden bench seat that ran around the inside of the rotunda. I stepped down onto the floor. The sound guys were climbing out with their equipment the way I came in. I asked one if Kelly J had got out okay, and he said he thought so. There was a section of the metal fence barricade at the open side of a rotunda. It was being pushed into the rotunda in random surges from the front. One of the marshals, a short but determined woman, was being swarmed by some activists who were inside the rotunda as well. She was gripping a crumpled up banner that she had made tightly to her chest with both hands, which is not an optimal self-defense move, I have to say. Fortunately, 2 random guys were rescuing her from repeated attacks as the fracas went on over the banner. I got her by the shoulders at one point and yelled, "Are you okay?" Her face was white and she didn't seem to comprehend me. The metal barricade was coming further into the walled-off space in surges to the left and right. I was afraid of someone getting crushed. I stood still with my eyes shut and heads bowed, and did an extremely quick prayer. One of the random guys yelled, "Get the women out!" and helped the little Marshal onto the bench seat, running around the inside edge. I was following behind. The scrappy little Marshal had one leg over the side, then to my stunned amazement clambered back in, presumably to retrieve her banner. I was grateful that the two random guys were still in there and climbed out to find my friend. Thank you so much, random guys. I checked my phone and saw a message that my friend was uninjured and now waiting further down in the park under a tree with other members of our group. Texts and messages were exchanged with organisers and marshals. We were told to go home and sadly removed our lovely suffragette ribbons in case of further attacks. I wish that normal, caring people didn't allow themselves to be worked up into a violent frenzy by an ideology that is contemptuous of women's rights, and then be further enraged by inaccurate, slanderous items by mainstream media who are partly funded by our government. I spoke briefly to a couple in their 80s that genuinely considered that we were a white supremacist hate group and had bravely attended to do what they saw as their moral duty. I hope that people who committed violent attacks on their fellow citizens were prosecuted. Thank you to the marshals and security guards who risked their lives and were injured getting Kelly J out. Thank you to Sean Plunkett and crew at the Platform online media company for providing a more balanced and accurate cover of this travesty of free speech and women's rights and New Zealand as it unfolded. Thank you to the Free Speech Union, Annie O'Brien, and other commentators on the side of free speech in New Zealand's not very liberal democracy. A special mention to the New Zealand police for not showing up in significant numbers and not responding to the calls for help from people trapped on the rotunda. I used to trust and admire the police force. I understand that they have been given special training on this ideology by outside lobby groups, similar to the UK police being given training by the lobby group Stonewall. This ideology is all through our schools, our institutions and our laws. We did not get a chance to vote on these policies. This is not the country I grew up in anymore. New Zealand has fallen.
Yes! Yay! I think I'm going to put the camera here now because my hand is falling off. Right, who's going to speak next?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to have a sing song.
Put it around this way. Oh, right.
Here's the camera, so get in the frame here. Someone's gone because they were there on the corner and couldn't see us here. I wonder if one person could...
Is it all running?
Everyone get into the shot. The last person in the shot is you, so all these people, if you want to be on the camera, come here. If you want to be in the shot, you've got to come closer. Look at all these fabulous women. We want to make sure we see everybody. Got to come in close. It doesn't matter if you're standing in front of each other. Stand here, look. Come and stand here. They're doing the sing-song now.
Thank you to the woman who wrote this.
Lucy Hunter Blackburn.
Woo,
we love you. Oops.
And if anyone finds a really expensive Ralph Lauren glove, do let me know.
Okay, come on.
Oh, that's it.
We ready, everyone?
Thank you.
Ready, everyone? Maybe start low, start low. We stand together side by side. We will defend our rights. We stand together side by side. We'll not give up this fight. For women's rights are human rights. We won't let you forget. For women's rights are human rights. This isn't over yet. Politicians and their friends, they think we can side by side. For women's rights are human rights. We won't let you forget. For women's rights are human rights. This isn't over yet. And again. For women's rights are human rights. We won't let you forget. For women's rights are human rights. This isn't over yet. Okay. Mel next. Right, we're going to have another speaker. I'm going to have the phone like this.
This is Daphne Whitmore in Auckland, New Zealand. Today's her speech. Today I want to talk about free speech and free assembly being a traditional left-wing value and how important it is for women's rights. Many of us here are from the left and we are horrified at the state of the so-called left today. Too many who identify as left-wing today show by their actions that they oppose basic rights, that they get in a state of panic about a group of women speaking about their rights to have some female-only spaces. The self-identified left today are hugely illiberal. I want to reclaim free speech as a core left-wing value. The traditional left, at its best, understood the importance of free speech. The traditional left, at its best, was focused on freedom for the working class and for women's liberation. The genuine left used to say that women hold up half the sky. They didn't say cervix havers hold half up the sky. The genuine left defended free speech because it was essential to marginalised groups. There are many in the left today who use standover tactics as they use bullying, threats, lies and distortions to shut down women speaking. They try to get people sacked, something that was once unthinkable to the left. The way they keep running to the state to shut down free speech is outstanding. The woke left claim that speech restrictions will protect the marginalised. By turning to the state to defend women to shut up, they show their true colours. The notion that censorship and speech restrictions can be used to achieve social justice goals is badly mistaken. Once the authority to censor is established, it will always be wielded by power to protect itself. Free speech campaigner Jacob Mchangama, who visited New Zealand last year, spoke of a free speech recession. He is right. Despite amazing technology in the digital age, free speech is in decline. Despite all of this, there are some positive developments. In June this year, an international left-wing free speech conference is happening online. It is organised mostly from the US by a free speech group called Plebity. Redline in New Zealand is also involved, as well as the organisation India and the Global Left, and in Germany, Activism Munich. The keynote speaker is Nadine Strossen, who was the president of the American Civil Liberties Union for 2 decades. She has described this left-wing free speech conference as historic, or historic, should I say. There are some big names and very serious thinkers who are taking part. I hope a genuine left will re-emerge because class exploitation still exists and women's liberation is still an unfinished project. Every liberation and human rights movement has needed free speech. This is why I am here today taking part in the Speaker's Corners tradition. The lady's name who wrote this speech is Daphne Whitmore in Auckland.
Yay!
Well done.
Woo! Great. Who's next? Julie, are you going to do one?
I haven't got one. Oh, you can do this one.
Okay, Speech for Wellington by Julie Roberts. she said, "I wasn't going to come today because I was afraid, because of the lies and the vile hatred that the New Zealand press and the New Zealand government have spread about this event. It made me fear for my safety in speaking up." Terms such as repugnant and abhorrent. When women speaking up is repugnant and abhorrent to the government of New Zealand and those who support gender ideology. Those who oppose the right of women to speak up wish to silence us. You will not win. You will not drown out my voice. It is wise to remember that women make up 50% of the vote. I suggest we have an election coming up. Those who wish to silence and oppress us should start looking for alternative employment. I am not anti-trans. I am not a Nazi. I am not even a feminist. I believe in equality for all. The only fascists here today are the ones preventing women from speaking. This includes government officials. I am a mother, a wife, a daughter, an aunt, a sister, who opposes the eradication of women's rights by a politically sanctioned ideology which removes women's sex-based rights and sex-based language in order to affirm those who feel that they have been born into the wrong body. Trans rights are human rights. Well, listen up, Buttercup. Women's sex-based rights are women's rights. Your rights do not negate ours, and we will not be erased. I am not a chest feeder, a pregnant person, a cervix haver, or any of the other disgusting, dehumanizing, misogynistic terms invented by men to degrade women. Men are not described as prostate havers or ejaculators. Why then do you allow women to be degraded so? Would you kiss your mother with that mouth? Every day women risk their lives giving birth. Yet the Midwifery Council of New Zealand call mothers pregnant people. This is abhorrent and an insult to all the brave mothers who have risked their lives and suffered birthing injuries or died during childbirth. The government and its agencies and the cult of gender ideology tell mothers that we do not count. Our role is not important. We are not heroes, we are not brave, we are nothing. Our daughters are nothing and will amount to nothing under this ideology. Without mothers, none of the indoctrinated gender ideologues would be here at this protest to bite the hand that gave birth to them. It is not without significance that the Taliban showed more empathy towards a pregnant New Zealand journalist trying to return to New Zealand during the pandemic than our own Prime Minister. I have nothing more to say. New Zealand, you are broken. Mothers across New Zealand, wake up and unite, because you do matter and your voice will be heard.
Thank you. Brilliant. Yeah? Let me just get this a bit more stable. Okay.
This is the testimony of a woman who attended Posey's Let Women Speak event in Auckland. I'm going to speak as her. She says, "I was not planning to speak, mainly because I was arrested back in the 1970s in London in the anti-Corrie abortion bill protests. I got dragged off by 2 policemen and taken off and was at the protest alone. They said I'd attacked them with my umbrella, but I didn't have an umbrella. And I received a criminal offence in court for obstructing the police. They said it would get wiped off after a year of no arrests. Unfortunately, I got myself back to New Zealand to find myself in the middle of anti-racist Springbok Tour protests, which I felt I had to join. I was terrified. I never went to a protest again and even avoided a big crowd because of the trauma. One memory is of a group of us lying down in a street in Wellington with our hands over our heads as protection while police batons pounded over us. And amazingly, against what they said, I found I still had a criminal record. So at the Posey event, I was going to keep a low profile, even though I'd been very involved. I went with a companion. We planned to take photos and observe, give out some suffragette ribbons. As the rally was flooded with thousands of shouting protesters before any speaking could start, and Posey was attacked with tomato soup, the suffragette ribbons were swiftly removed as they made us a target for slaps, hisses, and much worse. This is what I would have said at Posey's event. I first got alerted to this movement when I popped along to my local women's centre for a cosy evening. I saw there were 2 trans women attending, which startled me, but I thought maybe I needed to just get with the time. When one of these trans women felt up my inner thigh from behind as I walked ahead of him through the door, I started to think that maybe we don't want men in women's spaces, in frocks or not. Describing this incident to friends, I was told that if we voiced such concerns, we would be labelled as TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists. I was so surprised to hear that we were labelled in this negative way that I did some more reading, always a good idea, and found J.K. Rowling's amazing letter. Idealistically and naively, I posted this on the Women's Centre Facebook page and was greeted with strong hostility. I was soon booted from the page. I couldn't believe it. I'd been attending the Auckland Women's Centre since the 1980s. It had been a safe place for lesbians and feminists. At the same time, I was also in sci-fi writers' groups. One day I saw a post telling us not to read that disgusting transphobe J.K. Rowling. I protested and got kicked out of that group too. I went to talk to my old feminist mates who were in their late 70s and asked where concerned women could talk together, and they told me about Speak Up for Women NZ. I joined and read with deepening amazement all the articles on how kids are encouraged to believe they may be born in the wrong body, and how our government ministers of health and education, sadly left-wing as I have always been, are supporting this belief, apparently in the name of being kind to a small, powerless, hurt minority. I learned that lesbian clubs were closing, as men insist that lesbians can join too. I joined an education action group and we wrote letters to schools and leaders. The replies we've got oozed with disrespect and disgust at our narrow-mindedness. We fought the sex self-ID bill, which was passed in spite of many thoughtful objections. I write children's books, and I had a manuscript with a publisher who'd been very interested in it for a few years. She suddenly went silent and never responded to me again after years of personal encouragement. I read up on our Authors Society, of which she was leader, and saw that that group also had become woke. Maybe that's why I'd been dropped, but as with many others, don't get to find out. I started talking to friends and family. Most agreed with me. Some didn't, and those friendships struggled to survive. The personal connections that remained, however, grew stronger. The circle of women supporters around me are more dynamic and wonderful now than the ones I joined in the 1970s wave of feminism. It's wonderful to be in this group of brilliant and warm and thinking men and women. But it's deeply troubling to be in a society where our ex-Deputy Prime Minister, who is gay, said on the media he wanted to bring along bagpipes to drown us out at Posey's event. I've always voted left, but no more. The near riot at the Posey event has resulted in our movement turning a sharp corner. Women high up in the Labour Party have now resigned. In my personal world, I have scraped off the I Love J.K. Rowling sticker from the back of my car because it can be seen from the street. Will I be targeted at home?
Should we go down here a bit? That's really annoying. Should we go down to the old building? Under the cover?
Right, we're going to just move locations because of this digger. Hey, Iris. Right, let's move to the old building under the cover for the rain and we're away from that roadworks.
What stuff is this?
I don't know somewhere.
What are we going to do? They've only
We're just going to be undercover because of that roadwork.
That's a shame.
And also because of the rain. I know, but
Or I sweep somebody up in it.
we can't do it with that, can we?
Not even at my loudest.
And also then we'll be protected from the rain. I think we want to go as far up as we can. We're just moving to get away from the roadworks and the rain. So I think if we go right up there, this is the old New Zealand house which they've moved from. Hopefully we'll have better sound.